Oh, let me turn that off. Blowing my hair everywhere. Hi, guys. Hi. It's John again. It's good to be on be on camera. Again, this is more me screaming into the void. More I'm practicing seeing how to look into the camera, how to act in front of the camera. Really, just a straight up practice for me and trying to be camera aware. Reason I'm doing this is because if you can't tell, I have a school, and it's really just me practicing to be able to do this for my school. So hopefully we can, increase productivity, increase people coming in, increase the number of students. Right now, I'm using these wireless headphones as a speaker, so I hope they're going to work well. And also, I have like a lesson in about an hour and a half. So anyway, so usually when I try these streams, I tell something of a story. Um, so I think last time was the fawns of being a waiter. Um, Let me see. What's a good story this time? I actually came very unprepared. Uh, hmm. Well, all right. So I'll tell the story of how I got into some of my RPGs. So back when I started high school, like I was in band camp, and it was like first week or so. This fellow by the name of George came up to talk to me. And George just, he looked at me and was like, well, this guy's kind of a nerd. And perfect. I'm guessing he had a perfect. And George himself was kind of a geeky kind of dude himself. He's you know a bit shy when it came to women. He had a very I wouldn't call him during his high school tenure popular with the ladies, but looks aside, he was a pretty nice person. I really like George, and he took me and he talked to me at band camp and said, "Hey, would you like to try D&D?" Now, I think I've had some of the stuff for D&D already. I think, the Monsters Manual for AD&D. Um, I don't know why, but I had it. Like I had gotten that, and I was very interested into it because we were playing the Dragon Strike, not Dragon Strike, Heroes Quest. There was a board game similar to D&D. It's a D&D board game, and so we were doing it, and it was very interesting, very fun to do. And so it kind of introduced me to D&D, and then George came in and was like, "Hey, you want to try it?" So we tried AD&D, and I admit there's some stuff I never got, like the Thaco stuff. Like I get it now, but then I just like it doesn't do it, does not do it. And we played together for the next 4 years. And with that group of friends that kind of grew bigger, we were playing like, you know, we played D&D, we played Rifts, we played Magic the Gathering. Lots of card game Magic the Gathering. Um, and then from there, right after I finished high school, I almost immediately went into LARPing. If you know Theater of the Mind, it's like a Vampire the Masquerade World of Darkness thing. And we did LARPing for a little while, which was fun. You know, it was all right. I didn't really enjoy it so much because a lot of people have it's what my character would do. So no matter what you like, they would screw you over and just be like, "Eh, it's what my character would do." So it wasn't always a fun game. It was a little bit more anxiety inducing and not very forgiving. I would say it was nice to meet people and get out and chat, but my experiences wasn't so much fun in theater of the mind. But um, I moved away for after 2 years there in at home doing this LARPing and role playing and uh, more D&D. I moved from home to away for college for my next few years of college, and I remember that one of the first few weeks I was there, I was in a place called Columbus, and they have a big student center. And a guy again looked at me. He's like, "Well, that guy's a nerd." Don't know what it is about that. I'm not sure, man. But whatever. I just kind of have that nerd feeling. So he's like, "Well, that guy's a nerd," and he asked me, "Hey, you want to play D&D?" Oh, sure, man. I love to play D&D. Like, man, sure, love to get in some D&D. I remember walking in, and he had gotten a room, like you could get a room at the student center, and we were sitting down, and he opened up the D&D. So you guys all wake up and you have magical tattoos. I do magical stuff, and I was like, like I think I was there for like 10 minutes, and just the opening and everything, and I was just like, I'm just not feeling this. Like you get the sense of this is just not going to be fun for me. And I'm like, okay. And then after the intro, all I can really remember in the intro is magic tattoos. But after the intro, I left and I walked out to get a drink and maybe think of a way of maybe getting out of it somehow. Maybe excusing myself, going back to the dorm. Oh, I just realized I had like a lot of study. But as I was walking by, so the student center is big. It had some rooms, and then it had this big kind of open area, lots of couches and tables and stuff. Tables set up around couches. And I passed by this group, and it's another group of guys doing RPG, but it wasn't D&D. I kind of look over. And it's like, hey guys, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, well, this is Star Wars RPG. And this Star Wars was the D20 Star Wars. So it was kind of the same as what we were doing with the, by this point, I think it was D&D 3.0. Not even 3.5 yet. I think it was still 3.0. And I was like, oh, hey, what is this? Hey. And so I ended up joining that group that night, making my character, which was a rogue. And we played that game, like with that group, I think for over the next 3 years. For the next 3 years, like when we did Star Wars, we did that game with the same characters for just a long time. And I felt bad that night because, again, the guy kind of that asked me to do DD came out and he's like, hey, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I realized I want to try this game instead. I said, but I'm like, I'm really sorry, man. Really sorry. Just, this, I thought Star Wars, I've never tried it before. I'd like to try it. Maybe I come back to yours. Side note, I spent years gaming with this group of guys I met to play, playing Star Wars. I never saw that guy again after that night where he introduced D&D. Like he just never met him again. So yeah, that got me into RPGs, and from that group, we played a host of them. We did D&D, and then I got really into GURPS, and so we played GURPS, and also one of my buddies had the Street Fighter RPG, and the Street Fighter RPG was based off on the World of Darkness system, just using different things like chi points and chi points and willpower to power your moves and stuff to do. And so the Street Fighter RPG was very, very combat heavy, but light on story, heavy on combat. And my friend redid a lot of the stuff, added a bunch of new martial arts, a bunch of new powers, and like he made a whole book for the Street Fighter RPG. And so that was fun. We played that for a very long time as well, because enjoyable. It was just enjoyable. Um, then yeah, we did GURPS and we did Street Fighter and we did D&D and Star Wars. And then every now and then we drop it and we would grab some miniatures and some sheets and we played Mech Warrior. If you've never played Mech Warrior, it's a game where you have these big mechs and you have your sheets with the armor stuff and calculations. It's something I started in high school playing or trying to play, but no one would really get into it with me. But I had the whole book and I had the sheets and I had everything. So when we started playing Mech Warrior, I was really happy getting to play, and it was fun. Mech Warriors just as fun, an RPG and a tactical combat game. If you ever try it, then after college, I moved to Japan, and here I met up with a guy, Rich, and he's just had a whole bunch of different RPGs he was really interested in, and so we hadn't touched D&D with our group. Our original group we started 15 years ago, I think, and with that group we did a game called Iron Kingdoms, which is a fun steampunkian setting, and just Rich is a great storyteller, great DM, and so that was a pretty fun game. Unfortunately, life and everything kind of took us apart for a while, and when we got back together, we kind of formed a new group. There was a core of us there still, but we had a new group, and we just then did like every 6 months changing games. So our first set of game was, I want to say it was Cyberpunk. We did Cyberpunk, and then we switched to, I think, Coriolis. So Cyberpunk is like a cyberpunkian type game. It's very obvious if you've played the video game Cyberpunk 2077, kind of like that. And we played it, but that game, especially with a new group and a new game, went to pot very quickly. We did. I remember we did Coriolis, but I'm not sure if that was the next game. Feels like it might not be. But Coriolis is a game where you play. It's kind of like if the Middle East went to space travel. Like it's very very Middle Eastern influenced, but you're space and you got ships and you have to travel through space, and it was interesting. It was fun. It was a very sci-fi, enjoyable time. Then our next game we dealt with was what was it? I think it was The Witcher. So The Witcher RPG we did, and The Witcher was fun. Witcher was rather fun. I have to admit, because none of us was a Witcher, so these monsters really did scare us as players. Like it could have been a golem. We're like, oh gosh, give me a human any day, man. Don't give me a monster. Oh, jeez, we're gonna die. It's a monster. We're not Witchers. You know, not enough of us. We don't got an army to take on this goblin. It'd be like one goblin, right? But still interesting. And that game came to a kind of sad but satisfying ending, I think. Then our next game for Cross, Witcher, we went to which one was it? We did Cult, Divinity. But the thing was, when we did that game, Rich didn't let us have the book. Like he didn't. We generally get a copy, kind of a book we can kind of look at before, a little while before we do the game, so we have some idea of the rules, and you pass it around. Everyone looks at it, gets an idea, right? We don't have to be rules lawyers, because we're just there to game, have a good time. So we're not trying to cheese anything or anything. We just Basically, that's it. We want to have a good time. So, we just need to have some idea of what we're doing, right? But in Colt, we didn't get that. We had a bunch of pre-made characters, and Rich made a great story, and man, it was fun. Let me tell you, it was like a movie. Like, we were doing like the first half, like that normal opening of a movie, and then the next, by the end of the game, some weird stuff like, hey, this is weird. But then we're like, look, we'll look at this later. And then the second game was like the second act of the movie. Stuff's happening, and it's weird and it's terrible, and we don't know what's going on, man. And then the third act, the final act, like it was fun. One of my favorite games having ever played was just amazing. Just very very well done. Um, let's see, we did all that, and I honestly I can't remember too much of what else because I think the pandemic rolled in, and we tried online. So we had first tried it hunters, but midway through, I think our first, like right after our first session and before the start of our second session, we determined that the type of game we were trying to play and the type of system that we were using wasn't conducive. It didn't work very well for it. So we switched over to Call of Cthulhu. And that was my first experience with Call of Cthulhu. Bloody fun. Just really great, highly enjoyable. And actually works, I think, pretty well. If you're going to do something kind of online, um, I think Call of Cthulhu is one of those that just really, really does well. Um, Especially if you can't let other people know certain things. You can DM, say stuff like it's really good, or you need to share stuff like you get this, you found this, you get this. I think that is probably, in my opinion, one of the better games to do online because I also having it kind of a theater of mind, not theater of mind, but still that's still on my mind from the last one. But having kind of a little less tokeny, a little less where are you, a little more kind of trying to get you to imagine what's happening. Well, it's pretty good. Now we did do some, we did have like maps and stuff to use because it was online. But after the first kind of uh, first session where we finished the first little arc, we finished, you know, we dropped that, really kind of dropped that map system and went to something else. And so we had a whole super interesting session where we're basically taking students out to the woods to deal with some stuff. And that was an interesting little weirdness that we had. Um, and then we ended up, we were supposed to go on the Orient Express, but we never were able to get there because we kind of all had to drop the game. Um, then yeah, that was my whole experience doing RPGs up to that point. And then about a year and a half ago, I put a call out, and I before then I've been asking around, but I finally got like a group together, and I've been running for a long time. I've been running D&D, and then I would get them to try other things. Like I finally got them last week. Try GURPS. GURPS. Let's do some GURPS because it's fun. Um, and it was not bad for the GURPS. GURPS was not bad. So yeah, so we're thinking now. I'm gonna wrap this up in a minute. We're thinking now to do kind of an RPG gaming thing here at the school. Once a month, kind of get together with the DM to play a game. Like we'll maybe have one or two or three different games that set up, and you have characters. You can play. You can do one shots, or you can do campaign. But it's kind of a pay to play system, which helps out quite a lot. Will help out getting sales and getting people in and talking to people, especially if we can get more Japanese people who want to practice English and enjoy. It would be fun. But anyway, that's my practice with the stream. That's my practice with the chat. And thank you so much. Very enjoyable. Cheers.